Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Abby, and on this channel I share my entire real estate journey and give you all the tips and tricks that I'm learning along the way. On this video, I'm going to be talking about one of the most frequently asked questions, which is how do I find properties or how do I find deals to fix and flip? Before I get started, if you are new to my channel or if you've watched a couple of my videos but are still not subscribed yet, do I have to beg you to subscribe to my channel? Come on, just do it. Meanwhile, I'm also on Instagram. If you follow me at Black Equity, you'll get the day-to-day of my renovations or anything that I'm thinking of doing, the properties that I'm touring. Just follow me there and interact with me. Don't be shy. I don't bite most times. All right, so let's get started. Finding a property, I think, is one of the most difficult parts of the real estate journey. It's one of the parts that I feel like as new investors, we overanalyze everything. We try and figure out, how do I find this property? Where do I look? When I've seen a property, how do I analyze it? And it just gets a lot. But I've simplified it, and the truth is it's a very simple process. There are only two ways to find a property. Any kind of deal will only be found in these two forms. The first way to find a property is on the market, and the second way is off the market. It's really that simple. So let's talk about both of them, and we'll start with on the market. When I say on the market, I don't mean you go to a particular store and you just pick up a house like you go to Walmart. I wish it were that simple, but it's not. So what I do mean is that we use the MLS, which is the multiple listing service. The multiple listing service is a public platform where all the houses that are registered in a particular area for sale are put on so that the public can view it and go from there to purchase their houses. And how can you find this market or this MLS? Google. I'm in Ontario, Canada, so I would Google MLS Ontario, Canada, and the first thing that comes up is Realtor.ca. So Realtor.ca is one of the major platforms where you can find properties in your search criteria. Just narrow it down by whatever you decide: price, location, size, all of that, and you can find the houses that are currently on the market for sale. But there are other websites such as Redfin.ca, Zillow.ca, PointToHomes.ca, so just Google it and check. And if you're in the US, there's also Realtor.com, there's MLS.com, there's Zillow, Redfin.com as well. And if you don't want to do the excruciatingly hard work of Googling, you could also call up a realtor, and that person will send you all the properties that are within your search criteria. And I'm sure someone is going to ask this, but how do you find a realtor? Google. I just want to note this. A lot of experienced investors will tell you that MLS listings or finding properties on the market is useless because the houses are overpriced. But if you are new to investing, don't be shy to look on the MLS. Yes, it may end up being more expensive, or you may not be able to find as great of a deal as off the market, but at the same time, a deal can be found. And sometimes it's not about finding a deal, it's about creating a deal. Don't ever hesitate to look at the MLS. Don't be shamed into only trying to find properties off market. My very first property that I made over 100K on was found on the market, and it was clearly a deal. Now let's talk about off the market, because that's where things get really interesting. There are multiple ways to find properties off market, and I'm going to talk about 5 of them. The first way to find a property off market is online. So some homeowners will use sites like Facebook Marketplace or Facebook groups or Kijiji or Craigslist, and they will post their homes for sale online. And the reason that they do this is because they want to sell their houses themselves. They don't want to use realtors. They just want to take control, and that's a great way to find a property and find a deal. You just have to go through the work of searching the listings, calling up the homeowners, making sure that everything is good. And I say this in almost all my videos, but always have a good lawyer so that even if you find a property, you can put it under contract in the legal way. Now, the second way to find a property off market is through a wholesaler. A wholesaler is someone who looks for properties through various means. They find a particular home and they put it under contract at a certain number, and then they turn around and assign that contract for a fee. And I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm under contract to purchase a property from a wholesaler. They put it under contract for $310,000 from the original homeowner. They then turned around and assigned that contract to me for $350,000 because the house is valued at $400,000. To me, it's still a good deal, and to them, they are able to get the spread between $350,000 and $310,000, which is $40,000. If that house was listed on the market, I would have bought it at $400,000. So finding that property through a wholesaler is a $50,000 equity already built in for me. Now, I know someone is going to ask this as well. Where do I find wholesalers? And the answer, as usual, is Google. Google is one of the best places. Just look for wholesalers in whatever area. Also search Facebook Marketplace and Facebook groups. Type in the search feature and say off-market properties Mississippi, off-market properties Iowa. You'll find particular groups for that area, and wholesalers will usually post their deals in that particular area. Another way to do it is when they post, you respond to them and tell them that you want to be added to their buyers list, because wholesalers are almost always growing a buyers list so that whenever they have a property under contract, they can send it to that list first. And if you are on their list, you can be one of the people who puts one of their properties under contract. I will say that with wholesalers that you do need to do your due diligence. By that, I mean a wholesaler might have a property under contract, like in my case, for $310,000, and they might say that it's worth $400,000, so that you should buy it from them for $350,000. But you need to look at the property, you need to know the comps, you need to understand the market, because sometimes that house might actually just be worth $360,000, and you buying it for $350,000 is only a $10K spread, which might be good for some people but might not be good for others. So in that case, look at the comps, look at the market, and vet the property before you just take it under contract. There's always room for negotiation. Even if a wholesaler says this is my fee, you can always negotiate that and say, you know what, I'm gonna pay you this instead. And if they agree to it, then it's a deal for everyone. The third way to find a property is driving for dollars. Driving for dollars is kind of exactly what it sounds like. It means that you drive around particular neighborhoods or particular areas looking for properties that are distressed. Once you find properties, you have a list of them, and then you find the homeowners and reach out to them and offer to purchase their houses. If you're driving for dollars, be prepared that it's going to take some time. You may get lucky and drive and find one property, and that's the only property you put under contract and it goes well, but you might end up having a list of 100 properties and reaching out to 100 owners. Maybe 50 of them will pick your calls or respond to your emails or your mailers, and maybe you'll get an answer from one of them. So it is something that is rejection heavy. So if you are going that route, be prepared for the rejection or for the lack of responses. But at the end of the day, if you do find a property like that, it probably will be worth it, I think. The fourth way is through mailers. Instead of driving around and locating properties individually, you are sending out mailers or little postcards that say, I will buy your house cash. It doesn't have to be actual cash, but that's a different video. And you send it to a particular neighborhood or city, and you hope that someone within that neighborhood will reach back out to you and will be willing to sell their house to you. Similar to the driving for dollars, this is also very rejection heavy, but even this is more expensive because you actually have to pay for the postcards and you actually have to pay for the mailers to be sent out and to be produced, unless you are writing each individual one and dropping it in every single mailbox. But that's usually unrealistic because you would want to send it out to hundreds or thousands of homes. The rate of response could be like 1 in 500 or more, but that's a way to do it. I do know people who personally do that. That's not something that I do. I might end up doing it at some point, but at this stage, I'm just not interested in doing that. The last way to find a property off market is actually through realtors. Some realtors have access to pocket listings, which are basically listings that they have that are not on the market that the owner wants to sell off market, and they are exclusive to that realtor. So if you have realtors or you know realtors, make connections with them and tell them exactly what you're looking for. If they have a pocket listing that is within your search criteria, they will send that over to you. So don't ever discard realtors. I know that I spoke in one of my videos about how to sell your property without realtors. It doesn't mean that I don't use realtors. I use them all the time to find properties. It's just sometimes I don't. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Send me a message on Instagram. All right, bye.